This is James Raspberry and Mr. David Lapovitz, attorney at law. We are recovering the requirement of having a conversation about the rights and obligations of a U.S. citizen. So, if Mr. Lapovitz wants to start.
Okay, so I'll kick this off. So you've heard of things like freedom of the press, right?
Mm-hmm.
Freedom to carry weapons, bear arms. All right. So would that be a right or an obligation?
All right.
A right. Okay. So citizens have the right to carry guns, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Now, what would be an obligation then related to carrying guns?
The right to fire? Or
At
the
anybody?
obligation? No.
So what kind of obligation do you have? Is it just an open-ended right? You can do whatever you want with a gun? Or do you have certain obligations?
You have certain things you have to do.
So name some things that would be gun-related obligations. Can I kill you?
Nope.
Okay. Would that be an obligation?
Yeah.
Not to kill people? All right. But can I defend myself?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So what do you call that?
I don't know.
Self-defense?
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So what's a gun right?
Gun right is... I don't know.
Can I own a gun?
Yeah.
Is that a right? I have the right to own a gun?
And I learned something else.
Can some people carry guns?
Some people, yes.
Who would they be?
The army, the military.
Okay. People that have permits? They can carry guns?
Yeah.
All right. Is that a right?
Yes.
Okay. So what's a corresponding obligation?
I don't know.
Well, we just talked about it. Military, police. What's their right?
To bear arms. To
But what is an obligation?
obligation is to...
Can they just go shoot you?
No.
Can they shoot anybody?
No.
Can they walk around shooting them in the air?
No.
Can you?
No.
'Cause that's an obligation.
Okay.
All right. So citizens have rights. That means there's certain things they're allowed to do. But related to those rights, they always have what? What are we talking about?
Obligations.
Obligations.
Okay.
All right. So that means that just because I have a right doesn't necessarily mean I can just do whatever I want.
So you have to do stuff. Did you get that right?
There are certain controls over the rights, right? It's not just I can have a gun and kill everybody. All right. So what's another right? How about
Freedom of speech?
freedom of speech? All right. So what would be an obligation related to freedom of speech that you can think of?
Can't just protest about anything. You gotta have a reason.
Maybe. What about saying bad things about people? Can you do that?
No.
So
Well, I mean, you can, but it's not right.
might get in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So you have a freedom of speech, but you have obligations related to speech. Just like you have freedom to carry a gun, but you can't go kill people.
Mm-hmm.
You have freedom of speech,
But you can't
but you can't just go
say mean things about other people.
right. So what's another right citizens have?
Right to vote?
Right to vote. It's a good one. What's an obligation then related to that? That'd probably be pretty tricky.
I don't know. I don't know an obligation for that.
What's an obligation related to voting?
Voting.
Voting.
You have the right to, but that doesn't mean you have to. But you should, because
So
it's...
it's like a choice thing?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like a choice thing.
But as a citizen, you should take advantage of that right and be part of the system.
Right.
And to make sure that you understand what you're voting for. Just because you can vote doesn't mean you just go in and do an eeny, meeny, miny thing.
Yeah, you have
You
to
should
get...
understand it. Right? So you're obligated to understand something before you put your pen to paper.
Mhm.
What's another right? What are things you're allowed to do?
Marriage?
Yeah. Marriage.
I'm trying to think.
What about religion?
Oh, yeah.
Do that, right? Can you make me do the religion you do?
No,
No. So I have the right to practice my religion,
but you don't have, like...
but I'm obligated to
choose your religion.
Right, not make you do what I'm doing, right? So do you get the concept between having rights but also having obligations?
So
Okay.
it's like options.
It's options,
like
but it's
kind of
also
like an option.
it's more than an option, right? You don't have the option to kill people, do you?
Mm-mm.
Okay. You have an obligation not to kill people, right? So you have the right, but it's not just a right where you can just do whatever you want with it. It has controls, and those are your obligations.
Okay.
All right. So generally speaking, I think it's safe to say that anytime a citizen is granted a right, there's also obligations that go along with that. How about driving a car? Is that a right?
Yes. And no.
No?
I don't know.
What do you think?
I-
Do you have to drive a car?
No.
Okay. So it's not an obligation.
So it's alright.
It's a right. How do you get to be able to drive a car?
So I have to take the driver's test.
And then what do you get?
Driver's license.
License. License is a right. Anytime you get a license for something, you have
so
a right.
the license to drive a motorcycle.
Sure.
License to drive jet skis.
Mhm.
Boats and stuff like that.
How about if you rent something from somewhere, rent somebody's house?
You have to have a license to be able to.
You have a lease, right?
Mhm.
Okay. So a license is another kind of right. Gives you the right to do something. Now, what kind of things can't you do with your car?
Smash into things.
So is that an obligation?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's almost like what they call a negative obligation, meaning you're not obligated to smash into people. You're obligated not to smash into people, right?
Mhm.
Something you don't do. Make sure you don't do, right? So with a license, then all these different licenses, citizens can get licenses to do things. Permits to carry guns is a license. Permits to drive a car is a license. There are also related obligations. Can you drive through red lights?
No.
Okay. So is that an obligation not to do that?
Yeah.
All right. Make sense?
Mhm.
Is that 5 minutes worth, or should we keep going?
That's perfect.
All right.
Absolutely perfect. Thank you very much.